Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Austin. I'm the Vice President of the Tri-City Regional Chamber. Thank you so much for being here today. It's good to see some returning faces and a couple brand new ones as well. Today's topic is delegation. And I was sharing with Josie that I am so excited about this because I have recently moved to a new role where I need to get more help. And I don't know how to ask for help or what things I need to be helped with. So this is very beneficial and I'm expecting to learn a lot.
Okay, wow, no pressure.
Yay, well. I have a lot of questions. You can see I have 20. This program wouldn't be possible without the help and support of STCU. And here to say a few words from STCU is Charlie. Charlie, come on up, please.
Charlie. All right. So Charlie Gritter, Vice President of Commercial and Business Development at STCU. Quick announcement. So we have our 4th branch opening in Tri-Cities next month. Columbia Center and Capitol. So we're really excited about that. It will be our 50th overall. So for that milestone to happen in Tri-Cities, I'm extra excited about. So ask the experts. We're proud to continue to sponsor it. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting. Thank you to the audience for all your participation. Erin and Josie, thank you for your time. And I'm also looking forward to picking up some tidbits today. So.
Well, thank you, Charlie.
Congrats.
Okay, before we get started, I want to go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves, where they work, their position. So we'll start with you, Sarah.
Sure. I'm Sarah Howe, I'm the philanthropy officer with Columbia Ability Alliance.
Hey, everybody, I'm Tony. I'm with A&A Roofing, for all your roofing needs. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Eileen. I'm a real estate agent at Skyview. I'm Michael. I work with PhD Control as our operations manager.
Great. Welcome.
My name is Irish Christ and I'm with L2 Wealth Management.
I'm Michelle Holt. I'm the executive director for the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Erin Lee. I'm the educational program director for the Children's Reading Foundation of Mid-Columbia.
Oh, great.
I'm Karen Pridemore with Spectrum Studios.
I'm Alicia Lenz from Spectrum Studios.
Well, thank you. Welcome all. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to introduce our 2 experts today. Erin Braich, did I say that right? Thank you, is the MPO director for the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, dedicated to planning for and with the Tri-Cities community. He holds a bachelor's degree in urban and regional planning from EWU, go Eags, and a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Hawaii. Erin has been recognized with several awards, including the American Planning Association Student Service Award and the National Rising Professional Award by the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. Beyond his professional achievements, Erin is an active member of the community and enjoys running with his dog, Edgar, cheering for the Mariners, I think I know where Edgar comes from, and spending time with his wife and daughter on the Oregon coast. Please help me welcome Erin. Josie Villa is a leadership coach, speaker, and the founder of H3 Leadership and OD Consulting LLC, where she empowers leaders and organizations through people-centered strategies. With over 30 years of experience in human resources, Josie has coached and advised leaders at all levels, providing unique insights into effective leadership. She holds a master's degree in organizational development and leadership and has been recognized as an honored listee and marquee who's who for her contributions to leadership. I'm sorry, Josie, I butchered that. Josie is also committed to supporting women in business and leads the Women Mentoring Collective, a community focused on inspired learning and connection. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her family and friends. This is Josie. Please give her a round of applause. I will leave them to it.
All right. Well, we're super excited to be here and to be able to share this topic of delegation. Erin and I, as we were preparing for this, we were both having our experiences with delegation. Mine was past experience, his is current and present experience. By a show of hands, who here finds delegation harder than just doing it yourself? Yeah. What happens when we do that, though, is that we don't free up ourselves to focus on the things that only we can do, right? Which is really important. How do we optimize your time right? To focus on the things that only you can do. There's lots of things that you do that probably someone else could do. And so we're gonna talk about some strategies on how to, how to take advantage of either your teams, and if you don't have a team, we've got some strategies for you as well. So what is delegation? Right? Does that look familiar? It's like somebody, like if you were ever delegated to, did somebody just say, there you go? Right? So it's not about getting rid of tasks that you don't like. Right? Maybe sometimes it feels that way, but that's really not what it's about, right? Delegation is a necessary leadership skill. If you are going to be a leader, you've got to learn to delegate. That was one of the lessons that I learned early in my career as I was climbing my career. Was my boss said, Josie, you have got to learn to delegate. You cannot do it all. Because when you don't delegate, you're really holding yourself back from other things that you could take on that help to build your skills as a leader. And so that was really important for me to be able to learn how to do it. And it's not easy because I'm a perfectionist and I'm one of those that just wants to do it myself. It's easier for me and I could do it faster and right. But it doesn't help to develop your team, right? And it doesn't help you build the other skills that you need to excel. So I want you to think about delegation as building capacity. Right? Expanding your reach and multiplying your own effectiveness. Think about matching responsibility with capability. Think about your team and who you have on your team. Do you have folks that you can delegate to? We'll get into really the different aspects of delegation. One of them being, how do you develop your team through delegation, right? I think when we hold on to things, we sometimes can be a bottleneck to getting things done. And so Erin's going to go in and talk about that. And, but when it's done right, it can be a great tool for you, for your business, right? To help you excel and exceed even your own expectations, right? Not just to mention your clients' expectations. So on delegation. Okay. So, it's a learned skill. Right? We don't always do delegation. I mean, just by the show of hands, it's easier to do it myself, right? So delegation is definitely a learned skill. And if you're a leader of people, it's really important that you're developing your people and you can do that through delegation. Right? But what if you're a solopreneur? Right? I'm a solopreneur. I'm finding that I'm overwhelmed with all of the things that I need to do in my business, right? And so I have to think more strategically about how do I pass some of this work on, right? And so align yourself with, like all the administrative things. I don't need to do that. I can actually hire someone to do that. If I don't have the resources to hire them, where else can I look to get that taken care of, right? I think about, if we have a community college in our community, right? If you think about the skill sets that they teach at the college, one of those is administrative, right? So if you thought about, gosh, could I go and talk to that dean and maybe provide an opportunity and experience for someone in that course to maybe come and help me, maybe get some credit for it, maybe it's extra credit. So, I mean, there are lots of ways that you can engage people to help you in your business. Technology, right? So technology is another one, right? Using, being able to use technology to help automate things that are repetitive. Okay? And so just being able to do that, you get that set up in the front end and that frees you up to then, again, focus on things only you can do, and that helps you grow your business. Okay, so how do we use delegation as a growth strategy? Right? So there's individual development, right? And this is where, we find people that we can help to build their skills, right? It helps to develop their competence and their confidence, right? And that's going to be really important as they start growing in their own career. So being able to identify people that you can help develop, right? So that's how, from an individual perspective, from a team perspective, it can be a multiplier. Right, so think about this, you've got a team of people, and let's say, you know what, I'm gonna delegate something that I need a team of people to do, so it'll take me, you know, I'd have to pull a whole bunch of people together, and I don't wanna be in the middle of that, so I'm gonna identify a team of people that can do that for me. Right, so it becomes the multiplier, number one, because you've got more people helping you, but think about this cascading effect that happens with delegation, right? I've got other things on my plate that maybe I can actually pass on to someone else that frees me up to take on this project. You know, that I've been delegated, right, to take on. So that's one way that it can be a multiplier for your organization. Okay, so now I'm gonna hand it to Erin, and he's gonna go over a lot of great stuff on benefits and such.
All right, just as a little contextual fact before I start diving into this, I've been a manager for 5 years. In my current role, and I will say as a manager, it is ever evolving. You will have the answer one day and tomorrow will be incorrect. So that, before I go into now my presentation, that is a little contextual factor about this. So I will lead with an example of outside of doing urban and regional planning, I have a pizza business that I do. I am not the one with the recipes for this. I am the front of house. I was asked to be the front of house because simply I was delegated the task of being the person to interact with the customers because my friend who does back of house hates it. So in short, if there's a task that you hate doing, you delegate it to somebody else. And that is what, how we do that. So thinking about the role of management and where we are. Management has changed a lot to where we are today. We used to be judged on how we produce goods and how we scale our economy, thinking about the industrial area. And then we moved into providing advanced services, think about kind of the dot-com boom. And then today, how does management exist with what we're doing with AI, how we are talking about new things in the workplace, how COVID really changed how we view work. And as I was speaking to my boss, and I will admit, I don't feel like I'm the best boss. However, I do feel like I'm a friend, I'm a mentor, I'm a cheerleader, I'm a resource, and I'm a coach to my team. And what do coaches do? They don't play the game, they motivate, and they empower the team to win championships. So management today provides the opportunity to have a meaningful experience for everybody involved in the product. So for me, that would be whoever receives our plan or our document and the people that are along the way of developing that, not just the ones that are receiving the end goal. So we manage things, but we lead people. So on the screen, you can see, so what are the benefits of delegation? As Josie went over, assigning tasks to others frees up time that for leaders to do things that only they can do only do. Higher level responsibilities, focusing on strategy, problem solving, and decision making. If you're involved in the day-to-day, how are you supposed to be able to look towards the future of who do we want to hire in the future? Well, I'm really concerned about today's issue. Frees up that mind space. Work gets done in parallel rather than bottlenecking with one person, which increases overall productivity, which Josie mentioned about cascading effect. If something is off somebody else's plate, something else can take that spot. All right, so employee growth and team strength. So employee growth and development, this is an excellent chance for in-house professional development. Things are getting more expensive these days. Professional development opportunities are not cheap. Opportunities to be able to develop an employee, whether that's with a new task, a stretch opportunity, that is a chance for professional development. Delegation gives team members opportunities to learn new skills and gain confidence. It helps prepare new employees for future leadership roles by gradually expanding their responsibilities. Pushing on employees to develop not only professionally, but personally and academically shows that you're not just caring about that end product, you're caring about them holistically. And that helps build not just a greater, we'll say, product, it helps develop an overall better team. So being a manager that is in this role, you have to be able to provide mentorship because things that are ongoing now are things that you either went through or you've experienced it. I would say that we all know when delegation is done badly, but if I were to ask each one of you, when was delegation done good? It's kind of a little harder. We learn from the bad experiences. So, as I have just been flooded with more memories in my head. So with that, when you're mentoring, it's good that you provide time, you provide space and resources. So when you're delegating something to somebody, you have to be able to step back, because if you micromanage, that is the opposite purpose of how you are supposed to be delegating them. So the best work happens when your manager is not breathing down your neck. The example I think about with this is when you either broke your arm or your leg. If your manager is micromanaging you the entire time and they're providing that support for everything, and then as soon as you get your cast taken off, what happens? Your hand goes like this. So if you are a manager and you're providing that support every single time they're doing something, and then you step away and you say, all right, go do it, they're just gonna fall flat on their face. You have to be able to provide support at a moderate capacity and not have it just be micromanaged the entire time. Does the success or fail really depend on Times New Roman versus Century Gothic? Probably not. It's a style versus substance. So just empower them, motivate them, and then get out of the way and watch them take flight. It's hard to delegate something to somebody. It's not easy. But when we do that, we need to make sure that we're communicating the why they are receiving the task. So why does that specific person need to perform this task? Why is it helpful for them? Why is it helpful for you, the manager, or the team? And when you have people that don't care about doing the task, they're less likely to put forth the necessary effort. So a quick example I have is, so it's essential that the board knows our team, or it's essential that the board knows what our team is achieving every month. When informed of what we are achieving, they can see how we contribute to the jurisdiction's priorities, so they keep approving our budget for the next plan. It's outlined very clear on communicating the why. Organizational advantages. So with this, it is cliche, but teamwork does in fact make the dream work. Delegating to individuals with specialized knowledge or fresh perspectives can lead to more creative solutions. Just being able to ask for somebody's fresh perspective on something that you're in the trenches with on every day, you will be surprised on how much easier things flow. It could be, that you are copying, pasting something manually when you just can find out you can just do Control V. It's as little as that. It distributes decision-making across a team, which can improve quality of outcomes and reduces blind spots. I'll say I have this underlined here because I'll say this is exactly what my wife does. She covers my blind spots, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm super grateful for our teammates for doing the same thing. And then workload balance and stress reduction. Ain't nobody have time for that. So there, as a manager, you get more things put on your plate, and there becomes a certain point where you just realize you do not have enough time in the day to be doing things. Leaders need to avoid burnout, because when leadership positions feel burnout, that cascades down, and that can be felt throughout the entire organization. So leaders avoiding burnout, but not trying to handle everything for themselves. You delegate that, it allows for people to grow, and it also shows that you're empowering people and you're not leaving everything on your plate. So when there is that big thing, your plate's free. Spreading responsibilities helps ensure that tasks are completed on time without overloading one person. So if we ask multiple people to do things, it allows for different tasks to be done in a timely manner. Organizational ability. So being flexible is always a good thing. As you heard in my bio, I'm a runner. Being flexible is a constant battle. We're really good at going in straight lines, going left to right. Not the easiest thing. Same thing with being a manager and getting tasks done. You can be really good at your one thing and you're moving forward. However, if you're trying to move to do different things, it's really hard if you're not asking others. And being flexible, so being a Swiss Army knife is always a good thing. So whenever you go camping, you know that there's that one person that has the Swiss Army knife, so if anything comes up, you can ask them to help get things done. That is what can happen if you are delegating. It allows for other people to have opportunities to get things done. All right, we're getting into the deciding what to delegate. So whose responsibility is this? So when a task is put in front of you, how do you decide what to delegate? Whose responsibility is ultimately it? So does it have to stay with you, or can it keep going down? And I will say Josie has a great exercise later that even challenged me during our presentation walkthrough of something that I proposed that was actually, maybe it's not ultimately my responsibility and it could be shifted farther down. So, this keeps you, keep for yourself the tasks that only you can do. So, for example, in our organization, I could be signing invoices. That's the task I know that I have to do as part of that. However, does that mean I need to be the one producing the invoices? No, I just can be the one signing them. So everything else outside of, say, signing the invoice is an opportunity for somebody else to be a candidate for delegation. Deciding who can learn from this. So who is that one individual that could learn from this? You need to consider your team members' skills, experience, and interests. Delegation is an excellent opportunity to stretch a person's abilities. You want to give them a task that will be a challenge, but not overwhelm them. And with this, everybody requires a certain type of message. I'm a Mariners fan, so I'll use baseball as an analogy. Everybody, when you're delegating a task to them, they require a different kind of pitch. It could be they require a fastball, they want the least amount of information and they want you to get it to them as quickly as possible so they can start moving it. Or they require a changeup and they would like you to be able to walk through the task very slowly. Or they could be a curveball and they want you to touch on every bit of the project so they can be as well compassed as possible. Everybody's different, but you want to be able to explain this so you can have them ultimately understand the project and what they're going for. And so another thing to think about is what's the potential impact of delegating this task? As I said, I sign invoices, so I can't delegate that out. If I delegated that to somebody else and then we were audited, that would be a huge impact. That would be incorrect for somebody else doing that. So looking for bottlenecks. If there are tasks on your team, am I the best person to handle this? Are there things that are slowing your team down? Is there something that's specifically slowing you down? Are you the best person to handle it, or can you outsource it, or can you ask somebody else to do it? That's a very hard thing for me to do. I will say there are things that you can ultimately think that you do best, but it turns out you were once in that position that your planner or your employee is asking for that to be handed to them so they can grow at the same thing. It's not an easy thing to do, to let it go and let that be somebody else's. However, that's ultimately how we can get more things off our plate. So when the big thing does come, it's freed up. So the 3 questions to ask: does this require my unique experience or authority? Will delegating it to somebody help develop their skills? And is the risk acceptable compared to the potential benefits? So, is the lemon worth the squeeze? All right, so we have a task and we're deciding to delegate. Who are we going to delegate it to? As I said, when we're picking to delegate it to somebody, we have the different pitch that we're using, but picking the right person for the job is just as important. Past experience, their strengths, and the motivation. Those are the 3 pillars of choosing who to delegate to. If someone has experience with performing a task, they're a great match. If someone has a strength that matches with the task, so if we're trying to explain something out to our board or the public maybe, and they have a strength in public speaking, sweet, they're a perfect match. Motivation, do they have a desire to grow and learn as a professional? You can assign them a stretch project, so something that's a little bit outside their comfort zone, and you can guide them through the process of trying to help them learn and upskill. So maybe they don't have the best public speaking, so you can start with something small of, hey, you're going to be presenting at a classroom, and then you can start from there, and then you can graduate up to presenting to a board or out at the public like that. With this, it's a very easy trap to fall into of only delegating to people that have great strengths and past experience. So if we're looking for somebody to do the invoice example, if they're really good with numbers and they have experience doing invoices, why not have them only be the ones doing it? Because motivated people, if you ask them to do it, they can exceed your expectations, and those are also the same people that can provide those fresh perspectives. So even if they don't have any past experience, but they're extremely motivated and they're good with numbers, that's a great match for them to be able to do it. So you're assessing people and their strengths. People are always looking for the opportunity to learn. And tying back to that professional development example, if you have somebody who's very motivated, they're looking at this opportunity as not only just getting a task done, it's a professional development. With that, I have a perfect example of, I'll say, a delegation that I did incorrectly. So I have a planner and they're working on a plan right now. I put them in charge of the plan, but when I gave them the plan to do this, I did not fully empower them to get the plan done, and they're working with other individuals. So when there was a conflict or something that came up, they were at a crossroads of, do I really have Erin's authority behind me to say this is the decision and it's final? So that was completely on me of, at the start of the project, I did not say, hey, this is yours to run with. You need to be able to make the decision and you have my complete backing of this. So when you assign that to the person who's motivated and they want that, you need to empower them to say, hey, this is your decision making. You are doing this. I fully believe you. Does it pan out every single time? No, but that's part of it, as we learn more in our failures, as we recalled from the bad experiences, than we do our good ones. And then we're gonna be looking at trust and reliability. So we want to prioritize people that want to follow through or have followed through. For those high risk and sensitive tasks, we can give those to the individuals with a track record of accountability.
Can I add something?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think what's important too, when you're delegating, and you're, giving someone the responsibilities is, if you typically engage with people as you execute that, it's really good to let them know, hey, I'm delegating this and I would appreciate your full support for them. Here's what I've given them to do. Here's the authority that I have extended to them. So really that helps to set up that person for success. If they already know that you've talked to that person that, that you typically interact with, it's a great way for them to, the delegate, to build relationships with other people that you typically engage with. And it definitely helps to set them up for success so that, they don't get any pushback, right? So.
All right, some best practices. We will look at the delegation matrix, which is an excellent best practice. That's looking at skills in 2 dimensions, but we'll get to that. So another thing to do, communicate expectations very clearly, as I laid out. Once you've chosen who, you explain the why, the purpose, and what the outcome, and how much, so the level of autonomy, how much are you checking in with them? Here's your level of freedom with this. And adjust how much direction given based on the person's experience with familiar tasks. So if you are new working at, say, an auto body shop, if I was working there, I would require a lot of autonomy looking over. You wouldn't want me just trying to replace your engine without even noticing. So my manager would then want to be checking in with me and trying to oversee what I'm doing as much as possible. So when you are making your delegation request, so when you are deciding, I'm going to delegate something, I know who I'm going to delegate it to, how do you do a formal request of this? You want to be very clear on what they need to do. You want to be very clear on the details, so how they should do it, say, to a very varying level of degree, and then when it should be done by, with your time frame. You want to articulate this exactly, so the end result, or what is your desired outcome. An example I have, tying back to what the example I gave earlier, is I'd like you to present the team's top achievements from this past year, highlighting how this has been our best year in terms of regional impact. Ideally, the board will be impressed with our results, and they will approve our budget for the next fiscal year. I'm convinced you're capable of this. Do you think this is something you can do? They say no, okay, you can find somebody else. You monitor and follow up. I schedule one-on-ones with each of my planners every week, and it can be about different tasks. However, it's also about understanding their capacity, knowing different things are on their plate, and are they ready for a project you want to delegate to them. So in conclusion, before we move on to the delegation matrix, when you are deciding to delegate something to somebody, do they have the right skills or potential to learn? Do they have capacity? Are you overfilling their bucket? Will this help their growth? Is it on their trajectory that they want to be on? Maybe they only want to be at a certain role, and adding this to them wouldn't be a good, we'll say, exponent for your organization. You can find somebody else that would be a better candidate. Are they motivated or interested in this topic? And do you trust them to deliver?
Mhm. Yeah, just a couple of other things to think about too is, you know, you can have these developmental conversations at the beginning of the year when people are setting their goals, right? And say, hey, just heads up, I'm gonna be looking for opportunities for you. You have in mind what their skill set is, what needs to be developed, right? The other thing I think it's really important to note this is that you cannot relinquish your accountability for that task, right, or that job. You are extending responsibility for them to get it done, right? But you're still ultimately accountable for that. And so making that really clear to the person that, I'm not gonna just throw you out there and, I'm still ultimately accountable for making sure that this gets done, right? And that way they know that, they're not just out there by themselves, that you ultimately are gonna make sure that it gets done, correctly, and that you're ultimately accountable. You're the one that's held accountable. So that if something goes wrong, it's a great learning opportunity for them, right? How do we make this a learning opportunity so that it doesn't feel, if it doesn't go well, it doesn't feel like you're gonna be penalized for it not going well. Right? So I think that's really important. And then the other thing I think to think about is that when you delegate, this is an opportunity to build a leadership pipeline, right? And leadership pipeline is so important in business, right? To know that you've got people who are capable and able to be able to pass on those kinds of things, especially as your business grows, right? Really important as your business grows.
Josie, can I have one more?
Yeah, you
So,
sure can.
I wrote this on my first paper, and of course I didn't state it. In delegating as a manager, when you have a task and you're delegating to somebody, it doesn't show that you aren't a capable manager. It shows that you are showing leadership. It's not showing any weakness. That's something I really need to remind myself, is that asking somebody else, hey, this is an opportunity for you to grow, is not saying that you are not capable.
Yeah. All right, so we, hopefully you grabbed one of these, delegation planning toolkit. I always like to leave a little, worksheet or a tool for you to both remember the points that we made, and maybe you use it as a tool for yourself. We're just gonna walk through that, okay? So in the first section, section 1, what only I can do. So think of a task that you have, that you've had on your plate for a long time. Right? You have that task in your mind. Write that down. What if you know that it's out there, you gotta get it done, you just haven't done it yet. And then ask yourself, why am I the only person that can do this? Is it really something that only I can do? And then make a decision. Do I keep it or do I delegate it? Right? And it may take you outside your comfort zone to say, I'm gonna delegate this, right? But if you set your system up, if you set it up to support that person that you're delegating it to, then you're assured success. And folks that are online, I want you to do the same thing. I think we provided the worksheet for you as well. Okay. Somebody want to just share maybe what's something that they've held on to that they just haven't been able to get done yet?
I can share. I think, for me, since it's still a small business, it's a lot of the times I feel like I have to do it on my own. And so one of the things is networking and getting out there and just making more connections. And I track every single day, and I have to write down what I've been doing. And today's been one of those days where I was able to get out and do 2 different networking events. But I wanna do that every day, and I can't necessarily get out there and do that every day,
Mm.
so.
Okay,
It's one of those things that I could send somebody else, but I just don't feel like they're gonna necessarily beat me, so. That's the hard part.
yeah, yeah. And so what do you do after you have that networking event, or do you have any follow-ups that you do,
Mhm.
things like that?
Yeah, and I usually do those on my own. I could, yeah, I just usually either send them a message or sending them a nice video message is what I've been trying to do lately.
Yes, I appreciate those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think it's something different that we've been trying. Instead of sending somebody an email, we'll send them a video message.
Mhm.
And I think it's a little bit different. And a lot of people have been complimenting on that. So I feel like we're trying something new.
yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, and if you're not comfortable with video, I will tell you, it's not my thing. I don't like recording myself. But if I'm out networking
Mhm.
and I know I want to do follow-ups and I've got to schedule, a coffee date or something like that.
Yeah,
And my plate is, I've got so many other things to do, but it's really important to me. Then maybe that's something that I delegate, is somebody helping me set those appointments up. Right? Reaching out. I mean, I was a ghostwriter for my executive. I would write stuff for him, and so maybe somebody ghost writes something for you, passes it by you, is this your tone, is this what you would typically say, right? But that's something that takes that off of your plate.
something that Noe, the owner of the company, did do, and I'm work very closely with him, is he delegated his email, and that's very hard because a lot of the times an email can be like a text, it's personal. But he just handed it completely over to his secretary, and she'll assign the emails that he needs to respond to. And he said it's freed him up completely. And I'm just like, anybody want to do my email? That's pretty cool.
Okay, so you've got a task, right? You've identified, is it something that you can delegate? Yeah, let's just say it is. Okay, so in section 2, then it's about thinking about, okay, so is the task urgent? Right? How quickly does it need to be done? Is it important? Which means, is it important to the business? Not just maybe important to me, but how important is it to the business that this gets done? Right? Tasks that are urgent and important should go to somebody who's capable and reliable. Right? Because you need it done. And so that might not be something that would be a developmental assignment to give to somebody, right? If the tasks are important but not urgent, that might be a perfect opportunity for developmental opportunities, maybe a stretch assignment for someone. Okay. Tasks that are urgent but not important are good candidates for delegating to somebody who has the skill and the capacity. And I think capacity is something that's really important to consider, right? We haven't talked about it much, but capacity is really important. I know I had a hard time delegating because I was always worried I was putting more work on someone else's plate. Right? And my boss said, you have got to learn how to do that, right? Encourage them to find somebody to take on some of their low level work, right? That they could do. But it's really important that you be able to do that. So the skill level, maybe they need help, and so you match them with maybe another person. Okay, maybe it's not just one person, but you're really pairing them. Think about what level are they? Are they entry level? This is the first time they've ever done it. Is it intermediate? Are they advanced? They don't need any support or any help. And so as you fill in the table, you begin to see, right, which responsibilities that you can delegate and to who, and where it actually grows your team's capabilities. Right? Because that should be one of the goals, right? That's one of the strategies of delegation, is building the capabilities of your team, right? And people that you're delegating to. Okay, so flipping over on the other side, we're in section 3. Right, so this is like a little mini project plan, right? So it helps you set expectation and build trust at the same time. Right, and provides clarity so that way the delegate can succeed without guessing. right? That's probably the worst thing, is you give something to somebody and they just don't know, and so, and you're not, let's say you're not accessible, and so they have to just figure it out, just guess what they have to do next, right? So, think about the outcome, what does success look like? Right, be clear on the final result, not just the steps, right? And give them the autonomy and flexibility to do it their way. I mean, as long as you're getting the end result, oftentimes you'll find efficiencies by letting someone else do it. You're just used to doing it a certain way, and you may find that that person has been more efficient in getting that task done because they, you know, they use a different route to get there. Okay. Timeline and milestones. Oh, wait, let's go resources. So what tools or support do they need? Again, I mentioned if there are people that they need to follow up with, make sure that people know, hey, by the way, I'm assigning this task. I'm not going to be doing it anymore, right? I'm still accountable. Yes, I am, but I'm actually going to have somebody helping me with this, and just getting everyone's support and alignment on that. And then timeline and milestones. When is it due? That's so important to let your delegate know. When is this due? Okay. Are you gonna do progress points along the way? It's great to have check-ins, especially if something is gonna take a period of time. It's really good to create some check-ins along the way. Maybe it's maybe let's say it's a 6-month project, right? 6-month task that you give them. Maybe every month maybe initially you do it more frequently as you gain confidence in their ability, and as they gain confidence and competence, then that check-in might not have to be as frequent, right? But just providing them that in the initial phase, especially if it's something that's new to them. And then on the reflection on the section 4, this is a great tool to be able to use at the end of the year. Like if you do performance reviews, I mean, this is already done for you. It's not something you had to, oh, how'd they do on that? We had regular check-ins, we've talked about it. It's something that you can use to be able to talk with them about how they did on that, right? So it's after they've completed the task, right? Take a pause and reflect. Think about questions that you might want to ask them about what that experience was like for them. Right? What were they challenged with? What did they find easy? What was difficult? Right? Those are things. Think about where there might have been gaps in communication. Because you're learning as well as they are, right? You're learning as I delegate, maybe I need to be more clear. Maybe I need to provide more resources for that person, right? And so you're both learning in that instance. Did the person that you delegate, did they grow from that experience, right? If it was a growth opportunity, I'm not saying you have to do that in every single situation that you delegate, right? It's really going to depend on what it is. I mean, you might have somebody who's highly capable, you just need them to go get it done, and that's the end of that. But if you're using it for a developmental assignment, this is an opportunity to talk about that experience. And then any adjustments that you might need to make next time, right? As you're delegating, what did I learn from this? What might I need to adjust so that that experience is a better experience next time? Because you're going to grow, right? You're going to grow from that experience. You're not going to get it right every time. But that's the beauty of delegation being more of a growth opportunity for that person. So anyway, I hope this is a helpful tool for you folks online. I hope this is also a helpful tool. This is the let's practice slide. So I think just wrapping it up, we're just going to go ahead and wrap up. Oh, I think I gotcha. Yeah, we covered that. Sorry about that. Okay, so in summary, with regards to delegation, right? So people see delegation as a practical necessity, right? It can be a source of strategy for leaders if it's approached intentionally, right? So when you think about delegation, don't just think about, I'm going to have somebody else do that. Think about, how is this strategic in both helping me and helping the organization and helping the individual, right? So kind of think about that, the three-pronged approach. Okay, it being strategic, right? Create space for strategic thinking. This really does free you up as the leader of the organization or of your division, whatever leadership position you hold. It does free you up to do the thinking, the critical thinking that you need, that space that you need to be able to do that kind of thinking. That's hard to do when you're thinking about all of these other tasks that gosh, I know I've got to get it done. I'll just put it off for now, right? And it doesn't allow you that clear space for thinking. So I think that's really important. So to be able to reclaim that time for yourself so that you can focus on important things. Developmental, right? So stretch assignments that can spark ingenuity. People might be able to, that it might surprise you and say, God, I never thought about that, right? I love that. When they come back and say, hey, I got this done, here's what I did. And I thought, I would have never thought to do that, right? And I love that. And that's, if you're the person that's sharing that, it feels really good, right? That you were able to find that efficiency for them. Efficiency, yes. So when team members take ownership, they often find more efficient and inventive ways, right, to complete that work. And then going to innovation. So delegation can be very innovative, right? First, you are giving someone else an opportunity to find another way of doing something, right? That they're gonna, because you're not gonna script out exactly what they need to do. It allows you to trust employees, let them experiment, right, with how to get things done. And that makes them feel like their ideas are valued and appreciated, especially when it goes well, right? And then using your technology wherever you can. If you're a solopreneur and you got to do it all yourself, it's how do I use technology to really help me be better in my business and give me that space to be thinking and creating, which is, that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We're out creating that next thing that we're going to be services that we're going to be offering. And so really creating that space to be able to do that. So I hope that you see that delegation is more than just passing work off to somebody. That really is a strategic tool, right? It's a developmental tool for your organization. It helps to build your leadership pipeline. It frees you up to do the strategic things that will help move your business along. And it creates that multiplying effect, right? Just think about the person who you delegated, and it allows them to learn what delegation is like so that they can be delegating, some of their tasks to other people. And you develop a lot of people out of one thing that you delegate. It has the effect of developing a lot of other people just beside the person that you delegated to. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think how you summarized it was very well.
Great. Let's
Open
open it up
for
to
questions, yeah.
We have one on Zoom already.
Okay.
Jose asks, how do you confront pushback when you try to delegate something and maybe that person doesn't want it, but you need to get rid of it, or it's something you hate, like you said, Erin?
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you? And if so, how would you handle that?
Yes, it has happened. And how do you confront it? That would be just, short answer is, does it fall within their job responsibility? So yes, that gives you the backing to be able to give something, but also it says like, hey, being able to explain why this is going to somebody is the main thing. And normally you can be able to meet somebody in the middle with that of, hey, this is why I'm doing this for you. What else is on your plate right now that you are saying that you can't do it? Okay, maybe there's something on your plate right now that actually should be shifted over to somebody else's. So being able to walk them through it normally provides a good middle ground on them saying no. I'll say the other side of the coin, I would say if they say no, that lets you know that they are not wanting to accept a professional development opportunity, and you can go right and ask somebody else.
I think it's important to understand the why. What's the pushback? What's their fear? Right? Is it, I'm afraid I have too much work already? Is it, I'm afraid I might fail? I might let you down. I don't have the skill set. So really understanding, help me understand why, right? Because I really do think that you're capable. And I'd love to explore that with you.
Yeah. How about someone in the room? Any questions? Someone in the room?
When's the last time you delegated something to someone? And when is the last time the task got delegated to you?
Yeah, well, wow. Thanks, Tony. So, I am an entrepreneur. I am a solopreneur, right? And so when I think about what was the last thing I delegated?
I'm sure your husband helps.
Well, I mean, yeah, he takes care of everything else.
Yeah.
So that I can focus on my business, right? I don't delegate it to him, he just takes care of everything else. But when I think of, okay, so I have a good one. So, I run a women mentoring collective. And in July, I decided to take it virtual and I wanted to make it global, right? So I have women that I know all over the world through my work and connections. And so I wanted it to be a global women's event. But I know that I am not capable of running breakout rooms. I thought, Josie, you cannot do that, because I really wanted this to be successful, right? I wanted this to be a positive experience for somebody, and I know that I can't run everything. So I reached out to my network of administrators and said, hey, is there anybody out there that has had experience running breakout rooms on Zoom calls? And I had a gal who said, yes, but I don't have capacity right now. But I know someone who might, and so she gave me her number, I followed up with her, she accepted the challenge. We met ahead of time, talked about what I wanted the flow of that to go, and she took care of it. I didn't get in the middle of it, I just, she took care of everything online, and then we did a debrief afterwards, because there were some things that I think I wish we had done that we did not do, but that's, again, learning for next time. So that was a time when I just said, I know I'm not capable, I mean, I could figure it out, but that would be dangerous. Right, and I really wanted it to be successful, so,
So, oh, sorry,
yeah.
I had a two-part question. No, I'm curious because you're coming from a entrepreneur, solopreneur, like you said, but you run an organization, right? So you're working for somebody. So maybe the outburst came to you and said, hey, Erin, I need you to take care of this. When did you feel like you could, give this to somebody else and just say,
So when has a task been
sure,
delegated to me and then I delegate that task to somebody else?
yeah.
It's a good question. My boss is also in the room, so I have to think about that. Let me see. Oh, so we'll say, we didn't necessarily delegate it to somebody. We found a common ground on we both decided this person was the right person for the job rather than me doing it. We had somebody leave an organization and there was a program that became freed up, and it was the time for that program's grant to go out for bid for an RFP. I'll say on my side of the organization, we do a lot of that stuff, so I have more expertise in that. And my boss asked, hey, can you help look at this? I said, yes, however, it's going to be the person that we both ultimately agree should be doing this will be working with us along the way. Knowing that I would not be the one ultimately responsible for this, then it became under my boss's responsibility. So long story, that was like me skirting being involved in the process, but it was involving the proper person in the project so they could learn the skills that I had while also taking it off of my boss's plate and then my plate.
That's good. Thank you.
This isn't a question, but I like when you said that you aren't hovering over like their neck, you let them do it, and you do run a risk of, are they gonna do it right, how you want it or not, and that's just something that, no risk, no reward.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of the debrief,
Mhm.
right, is really just letting them have that space, right, and then just making it a learning opportunity afterwards. Yeah.
That's when we had some interns that came on and worked for our organization. And I'll say as my management style was like, sharks are born swimming. You're gonna be thrown in, you're gonna be doing things, you're gonna be asked to do a lot from the beginning. Which is a good thing and a bad thing. There could be people that require more support and they want that, or they could be they thrive in the deep end. It does, as you're in the deep end, there's still a lot of ground that needs to be covered, but it's also ground for them to be able to grow.
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience when I was working in my corporate job, where we had interns coming in, and it's really, I did not do that well, right? I felt like because they're interns, they're new, they don't know, and so I probably provided more insight or more oversight than I really needed to. Right, and, so I definitely learned from that, you know, let them tell you what they think they're capable of, right? If they say, no, I got it, then let them have it, right? Let them run with it. You know, have your check-ins as you need to, but I think that I didn't appreciate maybe the capability that they brought, right? That fresh perspective, and, I was, you know, more check-ins than needed to be.
Do you have any cautionary tales of delegation gone completely awry? I don't, you already thought that you.
I do, but I'd have to change the names to protect the innocent. Yeah, I mean, I think again, it's a learning process. You're not always gonna get it right.
Yeah.
Right? But again, you ultimately have the accountability. And if you can't say, well, that person didn't do it right, you have the accountability. That would be an awful thing to pass that blame on to someone else, right? Especially if you're using it as a developmental opportunity for them. Own it. Say, you know what? I didn't provide what they needed. Or, it didn't get done. I should have checked in more regularly, whatever that is, but you own it. Don't put that on to the person that you delegated that to. I mean, you'll have a conversation with them about what went well and what didn't go well. But if your boss is saying, why did this not happen? I own it, right?
I understand that and taking accountability for that,
Mhm.
but I also think it's important on the flip side that you celebrate together. When
Absolutely.
it happens and it's
Yes.
that it's a celebration for all. And that entices people to want to step forward
Yes.
again. And we're all, I can bet every one of us in this room have felt fall on our faces, right? And that experience of how you were treated when that happened.
Yeah.
Helps define the next step for you.
Yeah,
So you gotta kind of put yourself back there, and a lot of times there are people, like you're saying, that are coming in under internships that don't necessarily have the background. And not to say we're all, being older and knowing everything, but sometimes it takes life experiences to learn some of those things. And so as you're guiding them along, you learn so much from them. I learn a ton, as well as passing back.
yeah, I love the celebration piece. I think that's a really critical piece to other people wanting to step up to do that. Right, is if they see that somebody's been recognized, or celebrated because they took on this assignment. And I think having that conversation and asking them, what could I have done better
Yes.
to set you up for success, right? That's a part of that reflection, right? Is how did I do?
Good feedback.
That's, actually, we'll go to your question first. I can run by.
My question is, I have a whole list of things that ultimately will be delegated to this person. And how do I decide which piece to delegate to them first? That makes it the easiest on me, because then I still have the rest of them.
Yeah,
So it's this transitional period between employees, right? Like when an employee leaves, you have this empty space where you take everything back on to yourself. Now we've hired someone, but there's gonna be a long stretch while they get familiar with all the tasks that need to be back on their plate, plus the ones that didn't get taken by the person before them.
mhm.
So do I just like, hey, here's a list of the 90 things I need you to do? Which one do you want to start with?
Yeah, I think it's important for you to prioritize that list for them. Right, I think that that's part of the responsibility that you have when you're passing something on, is that this is really the most important thing right now. And and understanding what is their capability level, right? So maybe they have the skill set, but they don't know the organization well enough yet. There might be things they need to learn about the organization, that if you give them something prior to them even knowing that, I mean, they're kind of learning that as they're executing that thing that you've provided to them. So I think that as you're delegating a list of things, I think it is the leader's responsibility to identify what is the priority. You know, what comes first, what comes next, and then assessing, do they have what they need to be able to execute that, right? Is there enough time for learning, right? Whether if it's a new skill they have to build, or if it's just learning the organization, is there time to make that happen?
And maybe part of that list that's 90, maybe there's already a built-in time frame of going back to the sheet that. Maybe there's some things that are urgent that prioritize themselves versus you having to say, this is number one. Actually, this has to be done by next Friday, so it bumps itself up. And then if it's a reoccurring item, you can say, hey, last time we did it this way, but actually you can draft it this next time or something like that.
And then the second part of that is, this new role will not be they will be in a different office location.
Mhm.
And so, do you have any tips for managing offsite?
Yeah, I would say so. So and this is a perfect blend of, so I'm just coming back from paternity leave. I work 2 days in the office, 3 days remotely. I have an employee that lives in Walla Walla, and then one employee that works half day in the office, half day at home. The other two work in the office. So we see each other when we see each other. I would say you want to be able to schedule a time that you know that you will be able to interface with them. Whether you can be in person or not, that's great. I would say if you can be in person for at least 1 hour a week, that's phenomenal. And it's not, you don't even really have to talk about the things that are ongoing with work. You know that they're a human and they're getting their work done. That's very big. But if they're off-site, maybe it's just, hey, we're gonna be scheduling check-ins every week for the next month, and then it can become bi-weekly. Or it's an hour check-in and it becomes a half-hour check-in. But I'll say in your position, you can probably be able to judge their productivity. If they're getting things done and they're off-site, you can say, okay, sweet, things are moving well. We don't have to check in as frequently.
I would definitely use your technology, use your virtual tools. The other thing that you might think about is if there is a checklist of things that you're gonna ask them when you meet with them, maybe preparing that ahead of time, giving it to them so that they're prepared. Right? And it might get to the point where you've had enough of these, they come prepared, and you say, you know what, we don't need to meet anymore, but if you just send me those on a whatever frequency, right? That way I just stay apprised. If somebody asks me, how's that going? I can check and say, you know, it's on schedule, or, you know, we're behind schedule, here's why. So I think that things like that.
Any other questions in the room?
But online,
Michelle Holt back there has one.
okay?
I have a question for Erin. How would you suggest others, because I can't imagine that there are not other people in the same situation. Being a manager, boss is not an efficient delegator. How do you manage that relationship between the person above you who may or may not do a good job and your ability to deal with them, but also delegate to people in your group? Asking for a friend.
As you're asking the question, I'm visualizing kind of like a pipe of water. So you can say that pipe of water is like this, you know that, I guess, insider baseball, the way that our organization works also is part of it. I always want to be able to keep my plate clear enough, so if my boss asks me to do something, I can be able to do that. There does become a fine line of where I'm doing something and then my boss asks me to do something and I can say, hey, I can get it to you this time. Thankfully, my boss is very flexible with me getting back to her on, hey, this timeline works. But if they said, no, I need it right now, then it becomes thinking about water, it becomes the water goes down to the next goes down to the next person of who I would delegate that to. Or it could just become that task does not become mine. for a time being, it gets put on the back shelf. Does that answer your question?
I think so, but also I think that there's some strategies that you are really good at. I'm giving this public comment, yeah, that Erin's really good about the fact that I'm not an efficient delegator. I am one of those servant leaders who is always worried that everybody else's plate is as full as mine, so if I ask someone else to do something that I'm capable of doing. And also I don't always feel like I understand how much is on everybody else's plate, you know? So then I tend to hold on to things too long. But when I do ask for help, it's usually at a time that I have not fully thought through here is the meaningful ask and why I'm asking you and why this is an opportunity for you. I'll work on that. But I do think Erin does a really good job of forcing back some of those answers from me. When would you like me to have this done? How much of this do you need me to do? Have you thought about what you want this to look like at the end? Or when I bring it to you, are you going to think, no, that's not what I wanted? And I think that's an important strategy because not every manager is a good delegator. So while you might be striving to be a great delegator, your boss might not be.
Yeah.
Because some of us aren't.
I'd like to add to that. So I think also, and I mean, if Erin is the person, when you're working with your boss, you get to know the things that they're responsible for, right? And if you have the ability to say, you know what, I can take that off your plate. You don't need to do that. Cause you typically you ask me to take care of it, but I know you took it back. It's like, how can I help relieve you of these easy tasks that I can do, or I can assign to one of our team members, right, who have the capacity and the capabilities to do that, or maybe needs a developmental assignment and it's not something that's high risk, so that it frees you up to do what you need to do, right? And I think as you start to build that relationship and you get to know that person that you're supporting, that you're working together with, it's an opportunity to start showing initiative. Number one, that shows your own initiative, right? How can I help them, right? Great problem solver, right? So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, Michelle, I would add on asking the question of, it's kind of a two-parted answer or question. Do you have a specific vision for the outcome when you are presented this? If it's no, and you say, okay, when do you need it done by? And that would be that. Or if, yes, I do have a specific vision. Okay, would you like it back? When would you like this back to you by? So if it's, oh, I know that I just want this to be purple, sweet, I can handle the rest of it. If I want it specifically, I want it purple and I want it to be striped and I want it on my desk by Friday, that kind of answers all of your stuff and we can get it done. But if it's just, I know I need this on my desk by Friday, that is all sweet, I got it. And then you can figure out, maybe there's 3 other things within that you can ask your team members for.
Yeah, well, and sometimes when you delegate something that you're responsible for doing, you don't even know what you want the end to look like, right? That happens sometimes. And so it's just being honest with them to say, look, I don't know exactly what I want this to look like, so don't be surprised if I say, nope, that's not it, bring me another one, right? We may go through this iterative process. But it's okay to say that, right? If you maybe you're creating on the fly and it's just okay to say, I'm not really sure what I want it to look like. So let's you and I work together. You're gonna go bring it back. We'll, the end result will be what it is with with us iterating and being able to talk about that back and forth. So
That's awesome. Any other questions in the room? No? Let's give a big round of applause for this. You both so much. I really learned a lot. I had 20 questions over there. And I was trying to find one that you guys hadn't already covered and I couldn't. So,
all right.
very good job. Thank you both. Thank you again to STCU. Thank you to everybody here. I love this program. I hope you guys do too, and I hope you continue to show up and support it. So thank you very much. Scan the QR code to take a survey. Tell us what topics you want us to cover. That's a huge one. Tell us the topics you want. We can go out and find the experts, but we really need to know what you guys would like us to, have workshops on. So thank you very, very much and have a great rest of your night.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.